welcome to the CNBC TV 18 special. I'm Shireen Bhan. There's been a lot of talk about India engaging with Pakistan on doing business. But while we have seen this discussion happen in the past, this time around the efforts seem to be more credible and more real. On the Pakistan side, there continues to be some dithering on how to engage with India. Can we actually move beyond the $2.7 billion trade number that we've achieved to $10 billion, which both sides are targeting? Is that really achievable? Is there more optimism and more hype than what exists currently on the ground? To discuss the roadblocks, the impediments, and the baggage that both sides carry, I've got with me an esteemed panel here, part of the delegation that actually traveled to Pakistan to engage with their Pakistani counterparts. We're here at the Confederation of Indian Industry. Adi Godrej, appreciate you joining us here. Let me start by asking you, there's been so much talk on engaging with Pakistan. Pakistan continues to differ on whether India will enjoy the most favored nation status or not. At the end of it, given our political legacy, given the baggage that we carry on both sides, is the opportunity big enough to take on the kind of risks involved?
I don't think there are any risks involved. I think the two neighbors with such a large land boundary, we're the second largest country by population in the world, they are the sixth largest country by population in the world, should have much more trade than we do now, and we should have mutual investment. And this is the right time, because both sides are clear that they would like to take this forward. We met all the different political elements in Pakistan, the ruling party, Nawaz Sharif's party, Imran Khan, and everybody is clear that they would like to take this forward.
Then why the dithering on MFN? Because we saw them putting it out, we saw them pulling it back. It's still unclear on whether come 2012 there will be a change of status or not.
No, I think it's clear now. The negative list will be
come in
place,
December.
No, negative list will come very soon. And MFN is expected by December. And they are clear that they will go ahead with it.
But I come back to my question on the opportunity and risk, because for any business to make some serious investment, you would require stability, both political, as well as the fact that, you know, tomorrow, come a 2611, God forbid, you don't want a clampdown, you don't want to risk your business investments.
Clearly. So clearly the amount of investments that will be made will be gradual. Exports can start once the negative list is in place. Currently only industrial exports are permitted. Consumer products, many of them are not in the negative list, so exports could start, and then investments could start. It'll be a gradual process, but it's a process that should start. This is the right time. We should seize the opportunity, and if we grab the potential is huge. To my mind, two neighbors so well placed geographically could have huge trade with each other.
Is the difference in engagement, Rakesh Mittal, on account of the fact that perhaps they need us more than we need them, or is that just our perception of the way that we look at this matter?
No, I think both the countries have their own strengths and weaknesses, and therefore there are synergies and opportunities on both sides. And let me tell you, I mean, I went after 7 years, and the positive sentiment which I saw.
What do you think has driven the change?
There's a sea change in what I saw. I think clearly, to my mind, one, of course, the entire economic situation in the region, and Pakistan and India are not sort of isolated from that, and I think therefore both sides believe that there are opportunities to start building up trade and people-to-people contact. And what I can tell you on agriculture, on healthcare, on education, and energy, there are clear synergies. And as a matter of fact, one of the suggestion I made was to have a Punjab cooperation between the two Punjabs, and I believe that could be the gateway for opening up the bilateral trade. But how far is this
from reality? I mean, that we've had this engagement in the past as well. This time around, it seems a lot more real than what we've seen in the past. But how far are we from actually implementing all of this on the ground and in reality?
I think if you see the duties which have been reduced by India, and clearly Pakistan's sentiment of coming out with a negative list, which will be 100% withdrawn by the end of December, I think to my mind are clear positive signals from both sides. I also believe that if the visa regime can be made more sort of easy and flexible for business and people-to-people contact, that will only further.
What is the feedback from our own Home Ministry as far as that is concerned? We have trouble with China, and we're talking about Pakistan and easy visa requirements here.
Well, I mean, what I picked up was my understanding is that both the governments are engaged, and very soon we should hear something from them on easing the visa regime.
Business visa which has come about, which will allow you to travel to any of the SAARC countries, and it's a multiple entry visa, and it is for a period of time. So once we get onto that kind of a visa regime, travel will be made easy.
Okay. Mr. Bajaj, I'm sorry to speak like or sound like the skeptic here, but is it all as optimistic as we make it out to be? Or do you believe that, you know, we are going to be faced with significant roadblocks and this picture may not look the kind that we are talking about it today?
You know, Shireen, I'm not very clear what Ari or Sunil mentioned. I couldn't hear very clearly. As far as I'm concerned, the need for trade and investment between, frankly, any two countries and between Pakistan and India, I don't think that is debatable. Both sides will benefit tremendously. And as was mentioned, that two democratic, large neighbors with such a long boundary, we have hardly any trade, bilateral trade. So that's a must. Second, I agree that there seems to be quite a bit of a change in attitude in the government and the people there, and the businessmen, at least the ones we met, which were the big ones, not the small ones, appear to be very favorably inclined, and they are not worried about being swamped by Indian industry. They know there will be some who will be hurt there, some who will be hurt here. All that is positive. But as far as I'm concerned, I'm not that optimistic, as I've partly heard what my colleagues in the delegation said. I think the people and the governments of the two countries need to make some crucial choices. We should not be the prisoners of the past, but we neither can ignore each other. I know that the negative list will come, but it hasn't come. Second, I think somebody say, Sunil was it or Ari, here 100% the negative list will go away by December. That is not my impression. The matter has to go back to their cabinet. That's what the Commerce Secretary clearly told us. And only then we can hope it will become zero. My products, incidentally, are on the negative list. Vehicles are on the negative list. So, but we are not talking an individual case. You see, China is a different matter. I have lots of reservations about that, but we are not talking of that. With Pakistan, one, security is the consideration, which I don't think they should have, but they must decide that. As far as we are concerned, we have to be careful for visa. Mr. Nawaz Sharif maybe casually mentioned to us when we met him that let's do away with visas. This is not EU.
Yeah, but let's get real. I mean, doing away with visas, really, when we're talking about India, Pakistan, is that really going to happen?
No, it's not going. Nobody is saying it will happen. It's not going to happen. We want a liberalized visa situation, especially for businessmen. You know, as it was mentioned, multiple entry. You can go to the whole country, various places, not just one city, and at least for a year. Now they give you just for one city and a limited part. This time we got for 3 months and multiple entry and all things but 3 months. So that needs to be liberalized. Integrated check posts for goods traffic should be liberalized. We should have more bank branches of each other. We should have more flights. There are various things we discussed over there. There's no time to go into that. But India would have, keeping in mind what's happened in the last 5-7 years, a security situation, not for trade and investment. At least I don't believe that. I don't know what the government thinks in India, our government. But people coming in. I've had enough problems in Mumbai. In my own home, I've had bullets in Nariman Point. So, and this is going on, and nobody there admits that they are at fault, but everybody knows people came in from there. So that we have to be careful. And I wish it happens, but I'm not as optimistic as I heard my colleagues say.
Mr. Godrej,
that was very positive. I hope he is right.
Okay, thanks for your comments, Mr. Bajaj. Mr. Godrej, that's exactly the point that I was trying to make to you, that, you know, the sense that we get is that Pakistan continues to have not made up its mind on how it wants to engage with us. You talked about the negative list, you talked about the most favored nation, but what we've seen happen on the ground is a lot of back and forth from the Pakistan side. It also seems to be conditional on how much will we lower our trade barriers, by when will we lower our trade barriers, and then we will respond in the manner that you want us to respond.
No, up to now, the only trade that was taking place is in some industrial products, because there was a positive list. Now, from I think around June 1st, we go on to a negative list. Now, for example, we feel we can export a lot of our consumer products from our group. Many of them are not on the negative list. So we'll be able to start the export.
Sure.
You start exports, you build up a market, and then if investment opportunities open up, as they should, then you start investing. So I think the scope is strong. The Pakistani side similarly
has the sensitivity
feels,
on the export front already, because already India is exporting much more to Pakistan than Pakistan is to India. So that's already a sensitive
yes,
issue
but
as far as they're
if it opens
concerned.
up, they are confident of exporting a lot to India. For example, some Pakistan textile manufacturers participated in the exhibition here and they were sold out in a matter of a day. I believe there are some stores which are selling only Pakistan textile products, doing extremely well in India. They want to expand to a couple of hundred stores in India. So it takes time to build a market, to build brands, takes time, but it will happen. The important thing is both sides are very positive to this development. So we should seize the opportunity. In the past, one side or the other wanted to do it, the other may not have wanted to do it. There were other things which would have come in the way of opening up. Now both sides want to open up. Both the political establishment, the government and business wants it to open up. So we should seize the moment.
So $2.7 billion, that's the current trade between the two countries. The expectation is that if all goes well, it could go up to $10 billion. Do you think that that's a realistic number?
See, if you actually look at the informal trade numbers,
I'm not going to the informal trade.
They are much, much higher. And just to pick up the point which you just mentioned earlier, I mean, to my mind, why should the consumers in both the countries suffer? Because there's an informal trade happening.
But is the Indian consumer really suffering? Let's be real. Is the Indian consumer really suffering, or is it the Pakistani consumer who pays in excess of 4 lakh rupees for a Maruti 800 suffering?
So it has to be product to product, but clearly the costs are going up because of the informal route of trade being taken. So to my mind, why should both the countries look at any kind of protectionism? There would be some industries which may not be as efficient, but ultimately the consumers will benefit. So that's the first point. Second,
is India pushing for this because it benefits India more than it benefits Pakistan from an opportunity point of view for Indian business?
This is not the way you should look at it, whether it benefits India more or Pakistan more. It benefits both. Free, open trade is always beneficial. So why should you not have...
But when we talk about market access, when we talk about brands getting access to a market, obviously we have homegrown brands that the Pakistani consumer would want, with the exception of textile or maybe a few others. There's no aspirational Pakistani brand that an Indian consumer feels like his life is sort of, you know...
But that's not the point. You build brands. When trade opens up...
But I'm saying at this point...
Nobody anticipated how big French-German trade would get to when the EU was formed. The Canada-US trade has become huge over the years. Trade increases with time and one should open up. Now whether it becomes $10 billion, $20 billion or stays only at $5 billion, to my mind is immaterial. We should open up and give each other's entrepreneurs the chance to develop business.
And also, you know, Indian companies can only export to the extent the consumption is going to happen. On the other side, with a lower population base and much bigger market in India, let's look at Taiwan and China. 80% exports are from Taiwan to China because that's a much bigger market. So maybe in the initial stages there may be some sort of imbalance from the viewpoint of Pakistan, but in the long run, Pakistani companies, Pakistani customers will always end together.
Time for us to take a break here on this special discussion, but we will continue on how India and Pakistan can benefit by doing business with each other. Welcome back. You're watching our special discussion on India and Pakistan and how they can benefit by doing business with each other. So CB, what is going to have to change? Because the Dubai route clearly will be a route less accessed if everything that we're discussing here goes on schedule, goes as per plan. What's really going to change in the way that we've so far been engaging with Pakistan?
What we should not expect is a 0 to 100 change. Everything, especially India and Pakistan, would have to be incremental. And that's what we are seeing. We have identified a few sectors. During our visits, and we saw the type of change and in reception that we saw during our February visit. I was there in February, followed it up with the last month visit. There's a sea change even during these few months.
So which are the sectors that you're most optimistic about?
We have identified these sectors. We have already been working on IT and healthcare for some time. Now we have added on textiles, we have added on energy, which is going to be and agriculture. So if we are really focusing on these 5 sectors, we would see an incremental change which will be substantial.
Mr. Bajaj, you know, I was reading comments coming in from the Pakistani businessmen saying that, you know, we're open, why can't Reliance come up and set up a manufacturing facility in Pakistan? Mr. Godrej here also talking about how investment will start, and then of course talking about the setting up of manufacturing bases later. But how far removed are we from actually being able to talk not just about exports but actually utilize Pakistan as perhaps a manufacturing base?
Time will show, Shireen, as far as I'm concerned, but normally trade is followed by investment. What of course is essential, and that is part of the old WTO agreement, there has to be a bilateral investment protection agreement. I mean, I already have a collaboration agreement with the Saigal family for motorcycle 3-wheelers, and we are going to start with exports and then make it a joint venture subject to, you know, that was our agreement. And we are happy to do that, but there must be a bilateral investment agreement. Maybe some companies are willing to go without that. I would not. I have some public shareholders, and keeping in mind the historical relations between the two countries, we have an open mind, we have a positive mind, but that doesn't mean we can be stupid about it. And there's no reason why the two countries will not enter into a bilateral investment agreement. And the other thing is, you said about much more exports from India as compared to Pakistan. Let time show that. We don't know what will happen. And while in the world, in free trade and open market area, some country will export more to another country which will export less. That is bound to happen. You cannot equate and balance trade between two countries. Having said that, with Pakistan, what I heard over there, clearly from more than one person, that by and large, however you determine it, the benefits to the two countries, or the people of the two countries, including their consumers, should be roughly equal. Both sides should feel we are benefiting. Otherwise, economically speaking, academically speaking, it may be all right. But in practical terms, I think there will be a problem.
So let me get final comments.
Maybe they can export enough.
Sure, let me get final comments, because if we're talking about building or creating an equal relationship, what are the imperatives that both sides need to work on? And I'm going to ask you to talk about the Indian position if we want this to actually be an equal relationship.
Okay, from our side, we want the few things we have already referred to. We want a most favored nation treatment as early as possible, yesterday. Second, we want the negative list, whether from June or again as early as possible, and phased out means almost zero by December, if not earlier. I'm not clear on that, as I said earlier. It has to be phased out. There are a few sensitive items in the SAARC agreement. They can remain on all sides, but that negative list, other than the sensitive, should go. Then, for businessmen, visa liberalization, integrated checkpoints for traffic, bank branches are important. All that we need from our side, and most of these things they need from their side also. You see, there's no ban on investment from India into Pakistan.
Right.
There is a ban in India, and that is going to be opened up hopefully. Anand Sharma said that in the parliament. There is no ban there. But for 7 years, I talked to Musharraf, I talked to Shaukat Aziz, the Prime Minister, to everybody, and so did my counterparts, the Saigals. But nothing happened.
Right.
There was no law, but no approvals were given.
Sure.
So
you're saying because there's an attitudinal and a mindset change, we may see that change. Okay, I'm going to get final comments from you, Mr. Godrej, and you know, we're all hopeful that we will see a normalization of trade relationships between the two countries. At this point in time, what would be the next big milestone? Would MFN be the next big milestone as far as this relationship is concerned?
First of all, we must facilitate trade.
Yeah.
Today the problem is visas. Visas should be opened up, which is about to happen. Travel should be easy. The flight connections between India and Pakistan are poor. They were much better 10 years ago. We need to have a mutual investment protection treaty. We need to have phone connections. When we were there, we couldn't use our phones. We had to buy local SIM cards to be able to. So communication, transport needs to be opened up. And then entrepreneurs will see to it that those who are in a good position to get a competitive advantage will work it out. And we should open it up.
Okay.
If the possibility is, it can be huge. For example, in the US, US companies invest in Mexico to export back to the US.
Sure.
That could be done to invest in Pakistan and export back into India. So lots of opportunities are available.
Okay, lots of opportunities available. As we've been talking about, can the Indian entrepreneur and the Pakistani entrepreneur bridge the trust deficit? That perhaps is the big question at this point in time. But we'll leave you with this discussion for now. Many thanks for watching. Appreciate you joining us here on CNBC TV 18.